Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul. I'm your host. It's me, Tisha Michelle. What's up, everyone? Happy day. So, let's kick this off with some gratitude. What am I grateful for in this present moment? I would definitely probably say that I am really grateful for my ability to manifest. Your girl's been on fire over here, like manifesting the shit out of some stuff. Over here like a witch, brewing up some stuff, doing some spells, bringing in some opportunities and releasing some beliefs and all this good stuff. So I've just been having like a really, really good time with just really tuning into my power and my beliefs and my ways of being able to manifest the things that I really desire, because everything that we all need or we are seeking and desiring, it's already there. We just have to bring it into fruition. So that's where the magic happens, right? Your level of belief. So the reason why I'm hype is not necessarily just about like, oh, I'm bringing in a shitload of stuff and I'm just manifesting it. But what it is that I'm really happy about is tackling those deep core beliefs, because you have to believe that you deserve what it is that you're looking to bring in, whether it's an opportunity, meaningful relationships in our lives, money, maybe even materialistic stuff. Those opportunities, if I didn't say that already. So, but you have to believe that you deserve it, and you have to believe that you can get it and you can receive it. So when I say that I'm hype about, my ability to manifest, it's my ability to believe in myself, so that 100% grateful for. So your turn. So y'all know how we really do. Unless you are driving, I want you guys to go ahead and close your eyes. We are going to get centered so you can express this gratitude from that heart center space, operating from that place of love, right? So go ahead and close your eyes if you haven't already. And I want you to take a nice deep breath, and you're just going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more time. Nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Whew, doesn't that feel good? Yes, let's go. What are you grateful for? In this present moment, what are you grateful for? It could be one thing, two things, three, many, whatever. This is your time to just express out to the universe what you are grateful for. Scan through your life. Like, what is it? Is it your home? Is it your health? Is it your children, the relationships, somebody that you just met, an unexpected conversation that you had last night, an opportunity that was presented to you, just the way you've been like healing and growing and evolving, whatever it is, just express that gratitude. You can say it out loud. You can say it in your head. You can pause this and you can go right in your journal. Just whatever it is, just do your thing. Express that gratitude. Gratitude. Woo. Okay. So let's get into this. So there is a trauma wound affecting more people than drugs or alcohol combined. It cuts deeper than flesh and bone and works its way to the soul. It affects both the rich and poor alike without prejudice. It is the father wound, and it leaves a wake of destruction in its path, more devastating than any natural disaster. So what I just said just now, I read from an article that Dr. Daniel Pisani wrote back in 2017 around the father wound. So I'm going to read this again real quick for you. There is a trauma wound affecting more people than drugs or alcohol combined. It cuts deeper than flesh and bone and works its way to the soul. It affects both the rich and poor alike without prejudice. It is the father wound, and it leaves a wake of destruction in its path, more devastating than any natural disaster. I don't know about you, but the chills, and chills. So my dad wasn't in my life much, right? So the way the story goes was my mom had sex for the first time at the age of 16 and she got pregnant with me. Ooh, child. He was her first and he was her first love. And I wish I could say that they lived happily ever after. They didn't. You know, from the stories that I heard, there was a lot of fighting and a lot of cheating, like with my dad cheating like on my mom, and then her like catching him like out in public, and then the girl that he's cheating with wanting to like fight my mom while she was pregnant with me. So just you know, a lot of stress in that sense. And he, you know, from what I heard, he didn't claim me, and his family just really more so sided with, which shouldn't have been a side, but sided with him. And you know, sided with him and was really more of like, he could do no wrong. So he didn't claim me. So he wasn't in my life. I think there was like a couple of times from some stories that I heard, like I was a baby and you know, my mom would be over there with me. Then it just kind of faded out, you know, at a very, very early age. And that early age is like under like 1 and stuff. And then there was just really no more, you know, of him in my life. And you know, it was my mom and it was my grandmother, just like my mom's side of the family that were taking care of me. So he wasn't in my life until around, I was like 14. I don't really remember exactly what happened. I think I was in, the way I remember it was, we were in Virginia, because we were living in Virginia at the time now, and I was born in New York. And we were watching like a talk show or something, and the talk show was about like fathers not like looking for their children or something. And my mom said something about, it just popped into her head, and she was like, let me call and see if they still have the same number. And she did. So all these years and stuff, she remembered their phone number, and she picked up the phone and called and got in touch with them. And I'm like, so when I think about it, I'm like, wait, what? So anyway, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, so, you know, my dad was like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for you forever. Like, we even thought about going on one of those talk shows. And you know, and I need to see her, you know, and all that. So he paid for us to come to New York, and we went there, and it was cool. It was weird. I'm lying talking about it was cool. It was weird because here's all these people, you know, that I don't know. That's like my family and my dad. And, you know, I mean, I've been doing my own thing. Yeah, I'm 14, but, you know, just doing my own thing, right? Never had my dad in my life. So, you know, he spoiled me for like that Christmas. He didn't buy anybody anything, and apparently they were used to him spending a lot of money on them, especially like Christmas and stuff. And he didn't. He was like, nobody's getting nothing. Everything is for my daughter. Like tree, like dead ass, no capping, tree full of stuff for me, right? All this stuff, right? And okay, that's cool. So in that process of me being there, I find out that he is sick and he has a disease, so which is HIV. And he didn't tell us, but his sister's husband did, who was known for telling everybody's business. But he told us, and he didn't allow like my dad the opportunity to tell us, which from him he planned to tell us, but it was like he just got back in touch with me and connected, and it wasn't something he wanted to dump on right away, but ended up telling us. So my mother said something to him about it, and they had a conversation, and it just was, you know, from there. So that's already in your mind, like, what the hell is going on and all that. So there was that. You know, something that my dad said to me was, my daughter doesn't have to ask anybody for anything. So I grew up with that belief, and I held it like it was a badge of honor. So it's like, yo, I don't got to ask nobody for nothing. Like, what's up? Like, I could do all this shit on my own, right? And you know, when you're a child and you're young, and you know, it's your belief systems are being formed, and you believe it, and the way that you hold on to it, like I held on to that like it was a badge of honor, and I kept going with that. So you know, so my dad ended up dying from complications of HIV when I was the age of 16, right? So not even really a full 2 years of him being in my life. And you know, then I just grew up, right? So conversations would come up, and I'd be like, you know, I don't got no daddy issues, you know? Because you see, to me, it was normal to not have like my dad in my life, and like all of my cousins, like they didn't have their dad in their life either. So in my family, that was normal. And when one of my cousins actually did, and I'm like, yeah, you're the weird one, right? You got a mom and a dad. Like, what's up with that, right? It was almost like that because it was so normal to not have my dad in my life. So it was just really like, I don't have daddy issues because, society says that some of these when people have daddy issues because they're swinging around poles, right? They're stripping. And I'm not judging anybody on that. Do your thing. And there's been times where I'm like, shit, if my body was the way that it was, my ass would be swinging around some poles, or out there sleeping with a whole bunch of different like guys and stuff because you're seeking that love from your dad. Like, I ain't got no daddy issues. I ain't doing none of that. Like, I've only been in 2 actual relationships and like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Right. So by the time I was in my 30s is when it hit me that shit, I do have daddy issues. Yikes, because again, I thought that those daddy issues were, the stripping and, having low self-esteem and that aspect and reaching out and just being with a bunch of different men and any of that stuff. So I'm like, that wasn't my case. So I don't have them. Right. But I was like, I do have daddy issues. They just look different. They look different than what the world said that they look like, right? So what is the father wound, right? So they say like I guess in a simple term is like the father wound is that absence of love, but that love from your actual birth father. So yes, you can have your stepdad or that father figure, but it's that absence of not having your birth father, right? Whether it's intentional or not, it could be through like abuse, absence, like if they're in jail or something, addiction, like neglect, and could be coming into like a result from there, right? So when we have a wound and that wound happens, our soul becomes fragmented. And when I say fragmented, I mean that our soul is in pieces, right? So some of the effects of like that father wound can show up in different ways. Like sometimes it's just remaining or staying in like an abusive relationship. Sometimes women marry an attempt to heal that wound, but like no one can take that place of a parent, right? Because the 2 most important people in our life from what we expect, expectations, and we were taught are our parents, right? So if they were the ones who left us, abandoned us, or hurt us, right? Disappointed us, like why the fuck would we trust anybody else, right? Why would we really trust anybody else? So, that's where the trust issue part's coming in, not allowing men to get close to you, right? Because why are we going to allow you to get close to us? For you to leave us? For you to hurt us? To cause us some pain? Nah, we're good, right? So part of the self-sabotage, push you away, keep you at a distance. So I'm going to keep you at a distance. So just in case you thought you were going to hurt me, that shit ain't going to happen, right? It does seep in with that low self-esteem and that lack of having confidence in yourself because wow, it's like my dad didn't even want me, right? My dad didn't even claim me. So I'm not lovable, right? So you start to have those type of, effects. So then, some people, their relationships on a subconscious level end up attracting partners who are unavailable, right? Unavailable to them because on that deeper part, you're mimicking there. And it's more so because you end up moving towards something that's familiar. So if there was an absence of your father, like you're attracting people who aren't emotionally available for you, right? And if you're a parent, you may end up mimicking your father, like being distanced from your kids, repeating those patterns because that's what is there, right? That's what's there. That's what was familiar. And that's what seemed to be, I guess what I don't want to say like seemed to be what's right and like what's wrong. So, a lot of times when people are in relationships and they're like, yo, I don't get it. Why do I keep picking the same people, the same type of person? Because that's a wound that needs to be healed. And we're all mirrors and reflections of each other, right? So the wound that's unhealed within yourself, that person that you are attracting is now holding up that mirror saying, hey, where'd this originally come from? It's time to work through this, right? What is that saying? Another belief that we hear is like, oh, like your dad is the first man that ever loved you. and the one who taught you how to love, right? So then if you feel like you never received that love from your dad, like who was it that was teaching you? And if it's still your dad, because there's, I believe, that's teaching you, he's teaching you that, oh, love can be abusive, love can be distance, love could hurt, right? So then that's coming, into there, as well. Or when they say like, oh, women like to date men that are like their father, right? So again, if that can happen from the way like, oh, my father, puts his family first. He was always there for us. He always provided. And that's the type of man that you're seeking and you desire in your life, that's going to respect you, going to love you, going to take care of the family, going to hold things down. Cool. But then if your dad was very distant, put himself first, didn't really care about you guys, abusive, then you start dating men like your dad, who aren't emotionally available for you, who are distant, who are abusive, don't really love you, not really showing you what like love actually really means, or whatever the case is, right? So we end up on a subconscious level seeking that, right? And then we have this thing called daddy, I'm doing air quotes over here, daddy issues, right? AKA the father wound. It is a wound that stems from that absence of that father, right? So we then end up feeling like something is wrong with us because our dad left us. Like, wait a minute, how did that become something wrong with us, right? Something's wrong with us, right? And the thing is nothing is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you, right? That was their journey and that was their process and what they chose to do and whatever was going on with them, right? But for us, we had that experience. But then we held on to that experience because as a child, like, we don't like how that feels. We don't like how that felt, right? At all. We don't want to feel like that. So we kind of try to bury it and not talk about it and not deal with it. So we just start operating from that belief. And whether that core belief is no one's ever going to love me, right? Because my own dad didn't want me, didn't even claim me, wasn't even there. So we operate from there. And see, for me personally, my biggest one was the trust issues. I'm not fucking trusting you. You bugging. I'm not letting you get close to me. Hell no, I'm going to keep your ass at a distance so you can't hurt me. But then I got hurt anyway. And I was like, yo, I didn't see this one right here coming. Right? I'm like, I didn't see this one coming. So if you've ever really have been in like a denial sense of like, I don't have daddy issues. Like, no, that's not my problem. Yeah, my dad wasn't there. Wasn't really much of doing like this stuff. But I don't have any of there. That's just your subconscious way of trying to protect you from feeling that. But if you really step back and you really think about it, like, how did it really make you feel to not have them like in your life, or really to show you how men treat women or they quote unquote should treat a woman or any of that stuff. So it's really like sit back and really just like think about, that, or what is that relationship like with your like with your dad, like, oh my God, my dad's my best friend. It's amazing. And that's great. What is your relationship like with like your mother? But that's going to be another podcast. We're going to talk about the mother wound, because I can talk about that wound as well too. Cause I have, experienced the father wound and the mother wound that shaped me to who I am today. And some of it is not in the greatest way. And some of it was like, yeah, right. So have you ever even experienced like, yo, I'm going to make sure I'm nothing like my mother. I'm nothing like my father. Right. So that goes to show too. So like, why do you want to just be so much not like them? Because it did affect you and you did have like that, that experience. So some of you, listening may really be seeking a relationship and really wanting to be in a relationship, but at the same time, really don't know how because you're afraid. You're really deeply afraid that you might get hurt and you can't trust an individual person. And the thing is to go back to where that story created at with your father. When did that shift happen? When did you feel like you couldn't trust that person, your father? Or when did you feel like they don't really love you? They don't really care about you? Like, where did what situation experience was it? So you can go back and change that narrative, change the story, and take it off of there. So that way you can open yourself up to be able to receive love, right? So you can seek a relationship, and anybody can have a relationship. Anybody can meet anybody and just get a body, right? But that's not what we want. We want meaningful relationship. We want connections. We want love. We want that together, that wholeness, right? We want all that stuff, someone that gets us, someone that is a reflection of us, and that we can be each other's teachers, right? Each other's guides. Like we're seeking that, right? But all that comes from a place of love. But if you are blocked and you are cut off because you don't feel like you're lovable, because you have that father wound, you got to change that narrative. You got to change that story. Because if you keep yourself blocked off from love, you can have some relationships. Them shits ain't going to be meaningful. They're going to be more heartache after heartache, trouble and regret, off of there, because you are really not even open to receiving love. So if you're not open to receiving love, how do you think you're going to get it? You're not. And then it goes even a little deeper. What does love even mean to you? So this love that you were seeking and desiring from your father that you didn't get, what is that? What does it mean to you? Not like what anybody else in society and your family and friends say that love means and stuff. Like I hear a lot of people say love hurts. Oh, okay. So what is that, your belief? Do you really believe that? How do you feel? Like, what is love? And where did you learn what that is? Where did you learn the definition of love? So if you are desiring a better relationship with men, we got to heal that father wound, right? So there's not a one size fits all when it comes to healing in any aspect. So I'll give you some steps. And again, when you can look at these steps, see what really resonates with you. How are you taking this in? What's coming up for you? But these are just some steps to give you some guidance to kind of start that process, right? So the first step that I would actually say is coming from that place of acceptance, right? Accepting the trauma. Like when I say accepting the trauma, doesn't mean like, oh, okay, let's not. It just meaning facing like your experience that you had and knowing that it's okay to feel that pain. It's okay to re-experience it. It's okay to say, like for me, 3 years ago, I would have never been able to say, yeah, my dad didn't claim me. He didn't want me. Like now I can say like, it's just what it is. Like that doesn't make me less than or make that I'm not worthy or anything. That was on him. That was on him. He had to live with that. Right. But 3 years ago, I would have felt very uncomfortable and I wouldn't have wanted to feel like, damn, like, yo, my dad didn't want me. That's fucked up. Right. So it's accepting that was a traumatic event. I didn't have my dad in my life. I'm 14 now. And here I am reconnecting with my dad for him to die 2 years later. What the fuck? Oh, somebody got jokes. Right. And then here is that I can hold on to something that my dad gave me, right? And he said, my daughter doesn't have to ask anybody for anything. Damn right. Let's go. I don't got to ask nobody for shit. But what ended up happening was he felt like he was really helping and by saying that. And I took it because, let's be real. I'm a teenager and deep down, I want something to hold on to from my dad that was never in my life. And for him to say like, yo, my daughter don't got to ask nobody for nothing because I got her. It was like, wow, that's what's up. Right. So I held on to that. But what I ended up doing was keeping people at a distance and making my life a lot harder than what it needed to be because I felt like I needed to be independent. I didn't need no help from no one. I'm not going to express how it is that I feel because I got this because, my dad said she don't have to ask nobody for nothing. So my belief in everything was formed around that. Everything was formed around there. So, when you get to this place of accepting like, man, that was some trauma I faced, man. I didn't get to do those things with like my dad. I didn't get to, have my dad pull up on a boyfriend and be like, yo, you better take care of her or I'm gonna fuck you up. I didn't get to, experience that. And something that my dad did say when he found out that I had a boyfriend in that short period of time. And he was like, she don't need to be having no boyfriend. You don't need to have no boyfriend because the only thing that's going to happen with you is you're going to drop out of school and you're going to get pregnant. Ding, 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 ding. Guess what happened? Dropped out of school and got pregnant. I said, well, goddamn. Goddamn. But it's accepting all of that. It's accepting that, knowing that it is okay for you to feel that pain. It's okay for you to re-experience, what that trauma was like. If it was a situation, something that your dad said to you that stuck with you forever, that really hurt you and made you feel like you weren't lovable. Like, it's okay to accept that, hey, that happened and this is what he said and this was the outcome of how it made me feel. Maybe you need to journal the pain that you're experiencing, right? So if you're listening to this podcast right now and something is popping in your head, a story, a memory, or something, like, let it pop up, experience it, feel it. Yes, get mad, get, angry, be sad or whatever. Just acknowledge and accept that. So that way you're able to move forward, right? So then you want to get to, next step is you want to get to the core, of that father wound. When did that shift happen? Was it when your parents got divorced? Did he go to jail? Shit, he might have missed a birthday. He might have missed a birthday. And that shifted things with you. You might have to meditate. You got to go down memory lane. You might want to do some hypnosis, to really get to like that core of when that shift happened again, so you can change the narrative. So you can look at it from a different standpoint, right? So, I look at it now, when I look back, I'm like, all right, so my mom got pregnant at, 16 and my dad was 17. Damn, he was a teenager himself. Can I really expect him to have claimed me? Am I really shocked, being a teenager and being the only boy in the family because he had a brother, but the brother had died. So like his mother and his sisters babied the shit out of him. Probably thought he was the shit as a teenager up in Brooklyn. Like, what's up? I'm getting all the girls, like bagging them, taking people's virginities. Like, I don't really know what he was thinking, in that sense, but he was a kid himself. Now, this doesn't give people passes, right? Because we all have choices that we can make. But what does allow us to have a little bit of compassion for the individual person, right? Because what we want to do is we want to get to that place of forgiving. Why? Because we don't want to walk around holding on to so much pain, storing it in our body, operating from that place of that wound. Now we're not even like, we're attracting, hurt and broken men in our life that can't possibly love us because they're operating from a place of hurt themselves, right? So we want to get to that core and be able to change that narrative, look at it from a place of compassion, look at it from a place of sending some love and sending some light over there and just saying, I want to take my power back because I want to live a better life. And I don't want to repeat certain things in my life that came down from that wound of a parent, from my father. Right? So the next step, what I talked about a little bit is the forgiveness. It's really that forgiveness, right? So it's that pain and that trauma is held in our body. We store it somewhere, right? So a lot of times when we gaining weight, yeah, we're protecting ourselves. But what are you protecting yourself from? In that instant, you could write a letter to your father, whether they're alive, or not. You could write a letter expressing how you feel. You don't ever have to give it to them unless you want to. Do some shadow work. I say connect with water because water is one of the purest cleansing elements. So really kind of meditate on that, get into the shower or a tub or go by a body of water and really just think about those experiences and how you want to take your power back from there. Right? So a lot of times people think that forgiveness is I have to talk to and I have to have a conversation with that individual person, and you can. But if that person is not in a place to forgive or to apologize or to even accept the role that they played in your life, you don't really get far with that because you can say something to that person and they'll get defensive, right? The next thing you know, you're all worked up. So this is how you have to remember that forgiveness is for you. They got their own journey, their own process. and how they have to really maneuver through and stuff. I never got to have those conversations with my dad, right? In that sense, I was just a kid then. He died 2 years later, and I was like, wow. So not only did you not claim me, now you're popped back up into my life to leave me again. Like, go fucking figure. Talking about abandonment issues, right? But now that I'm on this journey, like, yo, my dad's dope, yo. He's my main spirit guide. Like, what's up? Talking about moving mountains. Oh, yeah, he interrupts sessions. I went all the way to Boston, Massachusetts because it was just a calling, and I went there to visit. I got to get a reading in any state that I go to. So I get a reading from the lady, and then she tells me about how on, I think it was Mondays, they have these sessions at her house. And I was like, that's cool. Well, one of my friends had went with me. So he was there too. So we went over to the house to do like this discussion and this meditation. And we're in this circle, and we're sitting in the circle. And there was a couple of, it wasn't but like 5 or 6 of us. And like, they all had their spiritual gifts and stuff. So 2 of the ladies. So they were talking about, the energy in the room and saying something. So this one lady was like, there's a man here. Instantly, I kind of like rolled my eyes because I was like, So she was like, yeah, he's banging this cane. And he's just, and then she just looks at me and she was like, your dad is here. And I was like, So when she said that this man here, I instantly had the feeling, I was like, yo, it's my dad. And he was so rude because he just bombarded this session and was like, look, I'm trying to open these doors for you and you're not walking through them. Get your shit together. He didn't say get your shit together, but he was upset because he was like, look, I'm opening these doors for you and you're not listening and you're not going through them and I'm trying to help you. So mind you, I don't know these people, right? But you just come out and you're telling me what my dad is saying. And the reason why I wasn't walking through the doors is because I was still holding on to the anger and the disappointment and the hurt. Like, really, dude? No, I'm good. Remember what you said? My daughter doesn't have to ask anybody for anything. So guess what? I ain't asking you for shit there either. But I had to work through that. And once I started to work through that and really truly forgave him for it, I got to see how he was able to help me so much in this spiritual realm and be my guide and guide me through and maneuver. So he still is able to help me much more in that spiritual realm than here, as a human. But I had to work through that. I had to get to that level of forgiveness, and having that conversation. But again, that was through shadow work, right? Because my dad's not physically here for me to do that. So even if your dad is physically here, but he might not be ready. He might not be ready to hear what you have to say and to accept it. And guess what? That's okay. Because that's for him to process. That's his journey, right? But you want to get to that level of forgiveness for yourself so you could bring in more in your life that you're desiring, and especially when it comes to like a relationship, right? Also, when it comes to working with your son, because now you're producing someone that at some point could be a father, right? So it's acceptance. It's getting to the core of where this came from and then allowing yourself to forgive. So, a big message is just I want to let you guys know that you're enough and that you were not responsible for your father's choices at all. I love you guys. I am sending you guys virtual hugs and just so much love and just energy like your way. So if you have been affected by that father wound, just know that you are able to integrate it, be able to release it, and be able to really get back to that place of wholeness. So I love you guys. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram at @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.